rocking. I am so fired up that you've decided to join me for the next 45 minutes or so as we talk about casting vision, crushing sales, and empowering people. That's probably going to be you. You are the person that you are looking to empower today. So I'm really excited about the response that we've had to this masterclass. I'm excited about some of the feedback that I've gotten from some of you along the way and the things that you're looking forward to. I've worked really, really hard to cram as much as I can into this. I am going to preface this by saying we are going to spend the most time likely on the last section because that is going to be the individual development plan. But we'll make sure to cover each of the three sections of vision, sales, and then ultimately our professional development plans. A couple of housekeeping items, just to remind you. So I am going to leave time at the end for Q&A, but I'm going to ask you to just dump those questions into the chat now. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on the chat. I may answer the question on the fly, but if not, I will make sure to answer it at the end. So just dump your questions into the chat if you have any questions at all, and obviously being relevant to this masterclass, and I'm going to make sure to do my best to answer them. Again, if they're not answered during the session, then I'll make sure to answer them at the end. So Q&A can drop right into the chat. I'll keep an eye on that. I'll go back, make sure that, that we have everything that we need to answer your questions. So that's number one. Number two is make sure that you have your workbook. So we have created a workbook specifically for this masterclass, and it is going to cover everything. I told you in the content that I shared with you, and probably one of the reasons why you signed up was because this wasn't going to be fluff. This is going to be content, practical, to help you drive better outcomes for yourself and even your organization, not even just 2023, but beyond that. So I want to make sure that you have the workbook. I'm going to be working from it. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be sharing my screen in a second, and we're going to work through this workbook together. So that's what you're going to see a lot more is the workbook, more than just me, because I really want to help you work through that. So make sure you have your workbook, make sure it's ready to go, and let's get started. All right. So real quick, kind of a purpose for this, reason for this. And by the way, I'm not working from slides. I'm just going to be sharing with and talking to you. And then we'll be working through the workbook. So again, workbook. It's so important that we work through this, because if not, if you just learn, or if you just hear me say things and you don't practically apply them, it was a complete waste of your time. Okay. So purpose for this session specifically, why this masterclass? What I have found across working with organizations and individuals for the last 11 years is there are a few key components that I see that are consistently missing from an organization or individual's ability to succeed. Number one is clear vision. We're going to break that down a little bit more. But if you don't have an idea of where you're going, how in the heck do you know how to get there? Stephen Covey, I've used this a lot, but he says, begin with the end in mind. We need to have a picture of what the future is going to look like. And by the way, because of who is registered, the feedback that I've gotten, I understand that the majority of you are individual contributors, or you're an owner of a business that's contributing to your business yourself. And so I'm going to speak more from the lens of the individual as it relates to vision casting, sales, and ultimately professional development. So vision is the first area that I see is missing. So we're going to address that today. And you should see, if you've printed out your workbook, or if you have your workbook in front of you, you're going to see some of those areas, and we're going to talk through each of those. Next up, I'm going to talk about what it looks like and how to create a successful sales system. How do we consistently generate revenue for ourselves in order to achieve the financial outcomes that we have for ourselves and our organizations? The majority of you have some sort of financial responsibility to generate revenue. If you do not just check out on this section, because there's a possibility in the future that maybe you're going to get into a leadership or ownership role, and you're going to have sales responsibility. And these things are going to be really, really important for you to consider. So having a good, clear sales system is going to be critical to success. And then thirdly, when I think about an organization's ability to be successful, when I think about an individual's ability to be successful, I go to what I believe is far more of a struggle and far more absent than what most people do. Most people believe, well, if I just have a good system, if I just have a good process, I can achieve success. If I just learn the next thing, if I just gain some new knowledge, I can be successful. What I'm going to tell you right now is the problem or what causes a lack of success is far more the individual than it is the individual's knowledge. And I'm going to expand upon that quite a bit, but it's what's in here. It's not what we're adding out here. And so that's what we're going to talk about as it relates to empowering people, empowering ourselves, developing ourselves in order to be successful. All right. So we're going to get going and we're going to dive in. And like I said, we're going to dive into the workbook. And so I'm going to share from my iPad the workbook, and I'm going to kind of help you walk through how to build these steps as I talk about each of these three areas. So let me share my screen. I hope everything is going to cooperate just well. It looks like so far it is. So let's make sure that we get going here. It's going to take just a minute to boot up, to share my, my iPad screen, but it's going to do that and it will bring up the workbook here in a second. So just give it a minute. And so as I say that, let's get started opening up your workbook. So if you want to go ahead and turn to the second page in your workbook, it's going to have the header on there, creating a vision. And I'll talk about this as this is booting up. And of course, it loves to take longer than you would like it to when you're working through these things. But I want to talk about what I mean when I say create a vision. A vision is a little bit different than a goal, though a goal may be a part of the vision that you're trying to achieve. There we go. It looks like we're up. So as you can see here, this is page 2, creating your vision. This is what you should be looking at right now if you have your workbook. And so when I think of vision, I think beyond, and then we're going to talk about building this out for yourself, but I think about a holistic view of what I want my life and or my business to look like at a specific time. This is not just a monetary goal, though a monetary goal is going to be a means to an end. So let's start off by considering this, and I'm going to share with you and help you kind of think for yourself around what this could be for you. So when I think of what I want to achieve, so I'm 44 going on 45 years old. And I have a vision for 50. So when I think about my vision, I think about what it's going to look like to turn 50. If this is you as an individual, this is often done in a big turn of an age, a big turn of time, a season of life. But maybe for you, it's what do I want the end of 2023 to look like? So I want to ask you that question. What do you want to achieve? What is it that you are ultimately looking to achieve at the culmination of this part of your vision? This is not end of life. We're not getting morbid. We're not talking about, what's on your tombstone. This is more specifically related to the end of a period of time that you want to achieve something. So this is a good time for you to pause. If we were in a classroom setting, I would have you pause right here and think about it. Okay, so what is it that you want to achieve? So for me, I think of, okay, so at 50, by the way, we'll skip down to the when do you want to achieve it, but because I know I have a vision for 50, that's going to be my time domain. But first I think about, okay, so what do I want to achieve? So for me personally, I want you're going to have to bear with my writing here on the iPad. I want a 20-hour work week. And some of you are like, good Lord, that's all I want. But I want a 20-hour work week. I want $25,000 a month in passive income meaning income that I don't have to work to generate for myself. I'm going to run out of room here. I want the freedom to go wherever I want, whenever I want. So for me specifically, and again, because I've kind of alluded to this vision for 50, my goal is to have owned, I can put this in there as a matter of fact, a motorhome. And my wife and I are going to set off on probably about a 9-month to 12-month trip. We're just going to hop in the motorhome. We live in Southern California, and we're just going to travel the country. We're going to pick and choose spots along the way. I'm going to bring my golf clubs, and I'm going to play a lot of golf. She's going to ride in the cart. And so I want the motorhome so I can have the physical or the freedom from geography to just get up and go. And yet I'm still going to work 20 hours a week here. So in order to do that, I've got to be set up according to do that. But my goal again is I don't want to work any more than 20 hours a week by the time I'm 50, maybe less. I want $25,000 minimum a month in passive income, meaning in addition to the work I'm doing, I want $25,000 a month in income coming in from real estate investments, from the, explosion of my crypto account, again, whatever that may be, just traditional investments in the market, maybe a referral income from some additional streams that I'm building. So I want $25,000 a month in passive income. And then again, I want the freedom. I want freedom of time. I want freedom of relationship. And I'll explain that in a second. And I want freedom to just choose. And by choose, I mean, I want to be able to choose to do what I want, when I want, with the people that I want. I want to be able to choose where I go and how I do it. And when it comes to relationships, I want to be so selective of that point at that point, especially when it comes to my professional life, that I want to choose who I work with, and I'll tell no to anybody that I don't want to work with. And so again, this is just me scribbling some things on the screen. Now, let me go back and let me wipe all this out for a second. And let's just say, and then we're gonna move on through this quickly, especially through some of the bottom stuff here. But maybe I just say, okay, so what do I want at the end of the year? So I'm going to stick to this more professionally, because I've been public about this. I'll share this with you. So my vision for the end of 2023 is 1 million in revenue as a business at, oops, I want a dollar sign there, at 50% gross profit. I'm sorry, net profit. My financial coach, that's a client of mine, caught me on that last time. She'd kill me if I wrote gross profit again. So I didn't do it. So at 50% net profit. So I'm just focused on one thing for here. So let's just say, because that will be easier for you. But again, I wanted to paint the picture of a bigger vision for you. And then now we can get a little bit more narrow. So on $1 million in revenue at 50% net profit. Okay. And so then I say, when do I, or why do I want to achieve it? So why do I want to achieve $1 million in revenue at 50% net profit? So again, I want to help you get thinking here about how you can do this for yourself. So why do I want to achieve that? And again, I'm laying all the secrets out for you of how I think and what I'm all about professionally, personally. So the first reason is because I want a primary residence in SoCal. For every one of you that has a calculator out, you can realize that number isn't going to get me the house, but it will get me into the home. So I want a home in SoCal. I want a rental as well as a vacation home in Lake Havasu. We're a big river family. But why do I want that? So the home in SoCal, why I want that is wife. My wife, this is a dream of hers, is to get back into a home here in SoCal. So I want the home in order to give my wife this dream that she's after. If it was up to me, I'd rent for the rest of my life and invest all that money that I'd be spending on a home into other things, but that's for another conversation. So The rental and vacation home in Lake Havasu, why do I want that? Well, twofold. One is the rental income will likely pay for a lot of the use that we will have of it, but also because I want it for family experience. My family loves going to the river. My wife, I have two daughters that are 20, almost 21 and 13. And so we love going. And so I want to have that family experience on a consistent basis. And I don't want the barriers of having to rent a house every time we go out there 7, 8, 9 times a year. So I want that. So the business goal is going to help achieve those things. So those are just a couple of things as to the whys. There are a lot of other things. I have an employee that works for me. I adore her. I want to pay her twice as much as what I'm paying her right now. And in order to do that, we need to produce some more revenue. That's part of the why. So there's a lot of things tied into that. When do I want to achieve that? Again, when I'm thinking about vision, I'm thinking, okay, so I want some realistic or some reality to this, but then also I do want to put some aggressive time domains on it. So this is for me, 12/31/2023. My goal is to achieve that million in revenue by that time. And then finally, just one final little bit here about creating a vision for yourself. And again, think about it. Even though what I want to achieve is $1 million in revenue, that's not really the vision. The vision is the why. It's the home for my wife. It's the experiences at the lake with my family. It's a much better living for Shannon that works with me. So that's part of the vision. I'm painting a picture of what I want my life to look like at that point. Financially, that will give us a lot of other opportunities to take other vacations and do other things. So again, the vision is not the goal. The goal is typically a means to create the vision. And then finally, you just want to ask yourself, who benefits and how do they benefit when I achieve this goal? So it's incredibly important that we consider for ourselves who benefits. This shouldn't just be about us. This needs to be about other people. We want to bless other people. We want to benefit them. We want them to be along for the ride with us. So being solo on a mission towards a vision is just not the way to go about it. If you are a leader in an organization, you absolutely want to make sure that other people are benefiting from the vision that you create. Too often I see organizational leaders that create a vision and the employees are like, why the heck does this even matter to me? So consider that. So who benefits? So again, for me, when I think about these things, my wife, my kids, employee, other contractors that we work with that I want to give more business to. My clients will benefit from this, and I cannot get into all the reasons why, but that will resource us in such a way that we can do far more. And again, how? It gives my wife the home. It gives my kids the experience. It gives my employee a better lifestyle. It gives contractors more work. It gives my clients more opportunities to grow their businesses. So there is a lot tied into this. And, people will say, gosh, well, that's just a selfish goal. It's all about your own business revenue. Trust me when I say there are far more things tied into this than just me achieving $1 million in revenue at a 50% net profit. And again, I want to consider all the ways in which they're going to benefit. I also want to bring them along for the ride. It's why my wife and my kids know my goals. It's why my employee, she knows a lot of my goals. It's why I was public about some of my bigger goals for the year with all of you through social media and such. So again, when you think about vision, I want you to think about who can be along for the ride to give you support, accountability, but also so they can be blessed in the process. So hopefully that's helpful. So this is going to be for you to create, and then we're going to move on from here. But I want you to think about what it's going to take to achieve that vision. So these are just the steps, and this is blank for you. We're not going to work through this today, but I want you to think about creating a roadmap. What's it going to take for you to get there? What are the practical steps it's going to take? I have a coaching program that I'm going to talk more about later, but it's called the High Performance Professional. And this is something that we work on in a lot more detail, is creating this roadmap to success. When we're talking about a vision for the future, it's one thing to create or to consider the vision or even lay it out. It's another thing to build the roadmap to get there. So you want to create the roadmap. You want to establish checkpoints along the way. I'm not going from my existing revenue to $1 million. I'm going quarter by quarter. I know how much I need to achieve each quarter, even each month, how many clients that needs to be in order to do that. Those are all checkpoints for progress. Number 3, determine celebration metrics and standards. Make sure that you are celebrating your progress. Don't just wait for the achievement of your vision to succeed. You want to make sure, to celebrate. You want to make sure you're celebrating all along the way. So you want to make sure that that will help you to build momentum. That will help you to stay excited, because if it's just from 0 to 100, 0 to 1 million, whatever, that's a long stretch. This is why a lot of our motivation peters out, because we lose excitement because we're still so far off, when in reality, I know for me, and even the way that my year is loaded up, I'm going to see a significant hockey stick up in the fourth quarter of this year. So it could feel like I'm still far off in August of 2023, when in reality, I may still be right on track. And so I want to be celebrating to keep that momentum going, so I stay motivated towards achieving my vision. So again, that's just kind of that holistic overview with some specific practical details around how you can establish a vision for yourself, or how that can apply to an organization, because all of the same things are going to come into play. All right, let's move on. And again, as you can see, we're about 15, 20 minutes in already, and we're only on section 2. So I want to make sure that we're keeping this train rolling as much as I possibly can. Okay, so I'm working through my playbook, or my workbook that I already put some work to, and then I'm gonna translate that onto this screen for you. So when we think about a sales system, this is not first revenue. This is how I create enough awareness for other people to know who I am, and to understand why they should or should not want to work with me. So the majority of clients, if you're a client of mine, by the way, first, thank you. Secondly, if you're a client of mine, one of the things that probably attracted you to me was who I am. Could be my values, could be the things that I talk about, the way that I talk about them. So again, this is what you want to be known for. So what is that for you? I mean, this is ultimately your brand. And we're going to go kind of quickly through this, because these are very practical steps, but there is deep philosophical thought behind this. So what do you, and by the way, this will also open up a little bit farther in our last section. So what is it that you want to be known for? What do you want people to say about you when they talk about you in the marketplace? Do you want to be known as the kindest and most generous? Do you want to be known for empathy? Do you want to be known as an alumni from the college that you went to? Do you want to be known as a parent? Do you want to be known as somebody that is invested into the community? Do you want to be known as the top expert in your industry? What are the things that you had to get a recharge? What are some things that you want to be known for? Like what will be important for you, for other people to know about you? And so it's not going to be a surprise when I say this to you, but I want people to know about me, that I am, and you've heard me say this a lot, that I'm authentic. I am who I am at all times. You just know who I am when you come across me. I want to be generous. I want to be gracious. I want to be intentional. So these are just some things that come to me, and I can explain a lot more of that, but I don't want to bore you right at the moment with all the details around this. But it's extremely important that you think about what you want to be known for. Again, like in our coaching programs, or even when I'm working one-to-one with a client, this is something that we're talking about a lot. We talk about laying a foundation. Inside of what I want to be known for is who I am and how that translates to other people. So what you want to be known for is the beginning of creating a good sales system. If you don't have a, by the way, I'm going to scratch all this out for a second and say, if you don't have a brand, you don't have an opportunity to sell. Everybody needs a brand. Your company does, but you do too. All right. Secondly, I will sell to. Who will you sell to? Who are the types of people that you want to work with? I mean, is there a certain background, a certain role? Is there a certain set of values that they have, or the things that they are passionate about? When I think about my ideal client, there are a lot of things that come into play for me here. But one of the things that comes into my client is, or that comes into my vision for my ideal client is somebody with good values, no compromise on values, and they will do right even at their own expense. So good values, no compromise on those values, and they will do right even at their own expense. There's an organization that I just started working for by the name of Connor Insurance. So Ben Connor has been a good friend of mine for many years in the employee benefits and healthcare industry, and I wanted to work with Ben for a long time. And I finally got the opportunity to begin doing that at the beginning of this year. And Ben is ideal in these areas. He has incredible values. He doesn't compromise on them. And he has demonstrated time and time again ways in which he has done right at the expense of himself and or his business, meaning he has gone the extra mile for his clients, meaning he has stood strong in his values, even though he's maybe lost a client as the result of that. Those are the type of people that I want to work with. Again, there's a lot more specifics to it. And we also want to go beyond just those types of things and say, you know, a company of this size, a buyer in this role. Again, maybe they're in this industry. So these are all things that are really important. Okay, so that's who we're going to sell to. This is our sales system, right? We're thinking about who I am, who I sell to, and now what do I say to them? Words matter. Words absolutely matter. So this is our elevator pitch. This is our introduction. What you do and why you do it. So make sure we're not going to spend much time on this, but make sure that you can clearly communicate what it is you do and why you do it. It is important. I feel like salespeople try to play coy so often. It's like, I'm gonna trick you, and I'm just gonna be very general about what it is I do, or I'm gonna give some crazy marketing language to this whole thing, because if I do, then you're not really gonna know that I'm a salesperson. It's like, no, be proud of who you are. Be proud of what you do. Just communicate it in such a way that it leaves a good impression. And you do that by speaking the truth about who you are and why you do it. So just be clear in your communication with other people as to why you do what you do and how you do it. Okay, then moving down. So again, this is, I'm just going to write here because I think this is super helpful. Be clear, be direct. And then lastly, on this, in creating the sales system here, we have another page. Again, that's going to be more for you to work through. But your sales process, in order to generate revenue, you have to consistently create opportunities for yourself. And again, this is where people falter. I know a lot of very, very smart people in salespeople in industries that have terrible prospecting processes. They're absent of good lead generation. The excuses I always hear are, I just get all my business through referrals, or people just come to me. I'm like, no, that's because you're lazy or you're unable to go generate your own opportunities. So you want to make sure that you have a good sales process. So this is everything from lead gen all the way through to closing the deal. So I'm just going to make some notes for you to then consider as you are creating your own sales process. So lead gen. So part of this we just talked about up top, but first is, who am I targeting? I can't target people if I don't know who I'm targeting. Part of that should also be, by the way, why you're targeting the people you're targeting. And it shouldn't just be because they can be a good customer. Really think about why you target the types of people that you do. Next, how are you going to generate leads? How are you going to create opportunities from those people? So are you going to pick up the phone and cold call, which you should be doing? I still do it to this day. Are you going to be reaching out via social media? Are you going to be creating content through a blog, through an email newsletter, through videos on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook? And are you going to be posting to LinkedIn? That's all part of the how we generate awareness for and begin to create lead opportunities for ourselves. So that's the how. And then finally, so who we target, how we're going to target them. And then finally is how often. So a lot of times this is talked about as cadence, by the way, right? So how often are we going to reach out to them? So some of you have seen this before. If you're my clients, you've probably seen this if we've had this discussion, but I do something called the 21-day prospect pursuit. If you email me after this masterclass and you have not yet gotten your hands on the 21-day prospect pursuit, I will send you a link so you can download a copy of it. But this is a prospecting process that I created that engages with a prospect 7 times in a 21-day period of time. I'm not going to get into all the philosophy around why I created that then, but just let me tell you this. Every single one of my clients that implements this and is consistent will create opportunities for themselves that will lead to their revenue goals. We tweak the numbers of how many people they're doing this with, but if you're consistently doing the 21-day prospect pursuit, you will create opportunities for yourself. The problem is consistency. But again, so we need to think about who we're targeting, how we're targeting them, and then how often. Inside of the how, by the way, is also what we're saying to them, but that's for another conversation. But the beginning of your sales process is lead gen, and you need to consider those 3 things. Next up, very quickly, this is just something to touch on. When I think about this second area of prospect engagement, so lead, right, is somebody that I think I can do business with. A prospect is somebody in my mind that I've qualified as, yes, this is actually somebody that meets my criteria and could do business with me, whether they've expressed that interest or not. So I'm just going to make a note here, and I want you guys to consider this. Once, I'm writing this really big, once connected, keep them connected. Once connected, keep them connected. Again, you have to have a process to stay engaged. This is where you're consistently adding value. You are not just following up with them. You are not just begging them for a meeting, though you're consistently asking them for meetings. But you need to stay connected and engaged. You need to keep them interested. You need to be building rapport with them. You need to be demonstrating value to them. You need to be showing expertise to them. All of those things need to happen. But if your sales process does not include the way in which you are going to consistently engage prospects, you don't have a sales process. So prospecting engagements is number 2. And then number 3 in your sales process, or the third component to your sales process, is your meeting plans. So I'm just going to come right out and say, a plan is not a plan unless it has an intended outcome. Let me say that again. A plan is not a plan unless it has an intended outcome. So too many people go into meetings and have no idea the outcome that they desire. other than I want to close the deal. And if you're going into an initial meeting with a prospective client and your goal is to close the deal, in most industries, you've made a huge mistake because your sales cycles are too long to try and believe that you're going to close that deal day one. So you need to have intention with every meeting. So with your initial meetings, you need to have a clear plan, who you're meeting with, what you're saying to them, the questions that you're going to ask them, and the outcome that you intend to gain. With your discovery meetings, same thing. With your final presentations, same thing. With your networking events, guess what? Same thing. Too many of you show up at networking events hoping to meet people. That's not a plan. The plan is I go intend to introduce myself to people to qualify as to whether or not they're a potential client or a referral partner, or I just need to dig deeper to figure out which one of these two that there is. And for every single person that I meet, I am going to get a follow-up meeting with them. That's a real plan. So, and then finally, conferences. And I can go on and on about this for days, but the same thing applies. If you're showing up at conferences simply to learn or to consume information, you've blown your chance. Have better intentions and have better desired outcomes than to simply consume information from your conferences. I can go on and on about this stuff, but we just frankly don't have the time. Okay, so the final component to a sales system is metrics. You need to make sure that you have good metrics in place. So this is pretty simple, and I'm going to leave this up to you so we can focus on the last part, which is going to be the professional development component. So attempts. When I think about success in sales is ultimately, the dollar sign is right here, and I'm just going to keep putting them here so you can see them over and over again. Success in sales is always revenue. So what's it going to take for you to achieve the revenue that you desire? If you watch Shark Tank, one thing that Kevin O'Leary specifically says a lot is know your numbers. You should know your numbers. You should know how many attempts it takes to create an appointment, how many first appointments it takes to achieve what you desire, which is a closed sale of some sort, you transacting a good or service or a product or service for money. So a couple of notes here for you. How many attempts do you need? 2, schedule. How many real meetings? Maybe you have a multi-meeting sales cycle, and so that's going to go from meeting 1 to 2 to 3, but you need to know how many attempts it's going to take to get to meeting 1. So how many cold calls, emails, social media outreaches, how many attempts it's going to take to get to this. I'm getting all over the place now. I feel like a weather person with my whiteboard. But you need to understand how many attempts it's going to take to get to that first meeting. What's the conversion ratio? It's not as good as you think it is, by the way. I can guarantee you that. Then from your first appointment, if you have a multi-meeting sales cycle, how many first meetings is it going to take to get to the second, to get to the third? The third would probably be your final presentation. And then finally, this is conversion. How many conversions? So if Ryan wants, I'm just going to do this real quick. This is not accurate. $1 million in revenue. That means I need 250 clients coaching. I need 5 consulting clients. I need 10 paid speaking gigs. And again, I'm just rattling stuff off. But you need to know what it's going to take to move from here to here to here. And you need to build that out, and it needs to be part of your system. That's not just an annual goal planning process. That should be baked into your system at all times. Because going back to this, I want to understand what I say, to who I say it to, how I say it, and then ultimately how I'm going to generate the leads, how I'm going to engage with them, how I'm going to execute meetings so I can get back to making money. Hopefully that makes sense for you. Again, there's a lot more to this, but we just can't get to this in one masterclass. This is why I have the coaching engagements that I do. This is why I do the high professional coaching program that I do, because we break down a lot more of this stuff. Okay, finally, this is all about empowering people. So this could be your people, or it could be you people, meaning you. So you get to choose which one of these. Maybe we do it like that. You get to choose if this is for you or for your organization or for both. So, and I know we're running up on time. We're going to go a little bit over because there's just too much information packed into all of this. But the first thing that you want to consider when you think about your own professional development, when you think about achieving your goals, which is what we're going to get to on the next page, when you think about achieving your goals, the first thing that you want to ask yourself is this: what do I care about? If you're asking this of an employee or somebody that you lead, the question is, what do you care about? What really matters? In our first session of our high performance professional coaching program, we spend an entire hour on this topic alone. I call this the foundation. What's your purpose? What are your passions? What are your non-negotiable principles? Those are the things that matter most. If we don't have that defined, we are going to struggle to sustain ourselves to achieve the crazy goals that we have for ourselves in the future. Because you're here, it's likely that you have big goals for yourself. I mean, my $1 million goal means I need to almost 3x this portion of my business. 3 times, triple my business. That's crazy, right? It is. But I'm doing that because what matters to me matters so much, and I will do whatever it takes to get there. So, what do you care about? What do your people care about? That needs to be where we start. Secondly, what do we want most? What do I want most? What do I value most? Again, what is so important to you? What are the things that you value in your life that you would give everything to hold on to? What are the things that you want to replicate because you love doing so much, or the relationships that you want to replicate because you love being a part of so much? These are the things that we want to think about. Again, this is the self-awareness component to this process. Again, we can have goals, but if we don't have this laid out, we're not going to be able to do what's necessary to sustain ourselves. So what do you value most? Again, define those things. Some of these things, by the way, can be transposed over from your vision if you've done that, or vice versa. If you do this first, then sometimes creating the vision is a little bit easier. And I actually recommend doing this even before you do the vision casting component. Superpowers. This is pretty obvious, I would hope, in terms of what superpowers are. Oops, what I don't, not what I don't. That would be bad. What I do best. Now, as much as most of us believe that we have a good level of self-awareness, the chances are we don't. We don't have the self-awareness that we think we do to actually understand what we're best at. We think we're good at a lot of things that we're not, and we don't think we're good at things that we are. And so this is why it's really important at times to have a mentor, accountability partner, a coach. Make sure it's not somebody that loves you too much, because oftentimes they're going to over-glorify the things that you're really not that good at because they don't want to hurt your feelings. So we want to think about and lay out what we do best. So if you were to ask me what I do best in the professional realm, I would say to you, one of my superpowers is my ability to be able to see inside of other people, the things that they cannot see inside of themselves, to help them bring those things to the surface and then leverage those things to achieve their full potential. I believe that I am better than just about anybody in this world at being able to do that. Right behind that is I believe I have a superpower in my ability to stand up on stage and captivate an audience by speaking from the heart. My passion, my presence really engages people in such a way that I am able to deliver what I need to or what I have been asked to move an audience. You'll never please everybody, but I can dang well guarantee you I will please the majority by standing on that stage and communicating from my heart the things that I'm passionate about. What are those for you? And then finally, this is, again, that foundational component, and we spend hours on this with my clients, but what are the roadblocks? What's getting in your way? What stands in your way? Is it a lack of understanding, a lack of knowledge? Is it a relationship? Is it a person? Is it your own mindset? Is it, what is going to prevent you from being the best that you can possibly be in 2023 and beyond? So that's the foundational component to that. And then we're going to finish with this. So what are your personal goals? So some of these may be a part of your vision. Some of these may be separate. Again, I would encourage you to do this last section of personal and professional development before you do any other component. This is absolutely key. What is it that you want to achieve? So it's not just what, right? But why? What do I want to achieve and why do I want to achieve it? In our high performance professionals coaching program, this is, again, one of our sessions on creating a vision for the future. So this is part of the vision casting idea that I talked about in the beginning, but we go a lot deeper on this because it is so extremely important to cast a vision and create good, clear personal goals for ourselves. Next up, we talk about what is it going to take to get it done. This is the plan. What does the plan look like in order to achieve the things that we desire for ourselves? This is about productivity. This is about habit and discipline. What do I need to do day in and day out to achieve these goals? So again, this is about productivity and purpose, I'll call it. So this why here translates down into here because this why will drive a better sense of productivity. So we want to make sure that we have a clear sense of direction, but we also have a good, strong sense of motivation. We don't want to look to external motivating factors. We want them to come from within. So that's our plan. We need to create a plan. And again, we can spend hours on this alone, and we do in our coaching programs, and then again in one-to-one coaching. Next up, priorities. What are the priorities, or what are the expectations? What are the roles I play in life? What are the common tasks and responsibilities that I have? So I'll just write down roles, responsibilities, jobs, even people. Sometimes the roles and the people go hand in hand. And then it's how do I prioritize them? So I'll just give you a quick little idea of how I do this. So these are my priorities in order of importance to me. These are not a prescription for you. These are a description of me. So my priorities for my roles, because I start with roles before I do responsibilities or anything else. So my roles in order of priority are being a Christian first, a husband second, a father third, a friend fourth, an athlete fifth, and a business leader sixth. That doesn't mean that I don't care about leading my business. It just means that these first 5 things take precedent the majority of the time before that sixth will. So you want to prioritize all these things, because if you don't have priority, then this plan just goes away completely. There's no point in creating a plan if you don't prioritize your life accordingly. And then finally, when it comes to changes, what do you need to add to, subtract from, or change in your life in order to achieve. So we all have goals. We all have things that we want to achieve. But the question for me to ask you is how are you actually going to achieve it? For 99% of the population, me included, we can't just create a plan and prioritize it and have it happen, even if we take action. That's why I personally pay to be a part of my own to be a part of a mastermind facilitated by somebody else. I'm in a group with 10 individual people. We're part of a larger mastermind that's got about 150. I pay monthly to be a part of that. And then I also have a coach. I just hired her about 6 months ago, and we meet twice a month, or about bi-weekly, and we are talking high level. For my book, I finished the first draft of my book. We're set to publish at the end of June, and I hired a team, including a coach, a publisher, an editor. I had to bring people into my life. That was the add to in order to achieve the goal of writing a book. There was no way I was going to do it on my own. I don't care how passionate I was about it. I needed someone to light the fire and to help guide me along the way. So when you think about creating a plan for yourself, you want to make sure that you have your goals set out, that you have a plan in place, that you've prioritized, but then also you've considered what you need to add to. What do you need to remove? What's getting in your way? What's distracting you? And then, are there just some slight changes need to be made? We often think that when we set goals for ourselves, that we need to have these massive plans laid out, when in reality, sometimes it's just about minor changes. We don't even have to massively change things all the time. Sometimes minor changes will get us to where we need to go. I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm going to hop back on and just open up for our last few minutes. I don't want to run over the hour because I know your time is very valuable. But if you have any questions, please reach out to me. You're also going to see, and you're going to get some follow-up emails here, my thank you to you for being a part of this masterclass, for signing up, for showing up, is I am going to offer 50% off to anybody that chooses to join. So how do you get that and how do you do that? If you use HPP50 as your at checkout, you'll get 50% off. It's normally $9.97. It will be 50% off. This, I believe, is the next best step. If you're here, if this has been of interest to you and you're like, yes, I want to create a vision for my future. Yes, I want to make more money. Yes, I want more time to myself. This is for you. During the 6 1-hour sessions, we work through laying that foundation. So we really talk about what all is involved in that. We talk about creating a vision for the future in session number 2. So again, that's painting a picture for what's possible for us. And I'm going to coach you through being real, but challenging yourself at the same time. The 3rd session is about increasing productivity. We all can get better about being more productive. And so my encouragement to you through these sessions is let's figure out how to do that. The 4th session is around prioritization. So it's not enough to just want to be more productive. We need to prioritize our time. And so we're going to spend time there. The 5th session is one of my favorite ones, and it is about being indistractable. Distractions crush us. All of my devices are on do not disturb right now, because if they weren't, my phone would be going off, my watch would be going off, email would be popping up. We get so distracted. And every time that we get distracted, that is hindering our ability to do what's productive and necessary to achieve our goals and ultimately to see that vision come to reality. So that's in there. And then finally, we talk about living for freedom, your life, your way. 6 sessions over 6 weeks, an hour a session, a private Slack channel, unlimited Voxer coaching access. And again, normally it's $9.97. We're offering a 50% discount to anybody that participated in this masterclass. That 50% discount will not go out to anybody else outside of this masterclass attendance. So If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to respond to one of those emails. I will respond to you. If you have any questions about the masterclass, about the coaching program, about something else completely off the wall and different, if you want to know who I voted for president in 2020, I will tell you over email, whatever it may be that suits your fancy. Anyway, thank you guys so much. This was a blast. I love being able to do this. Keep an eye out. We're going to be doing these at least once every other month, but we may be doing them once a month. So just keep an eye out. More coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I look forward to helping you achieve your vision for success in 2023 and far beyond. Talk to you guys soon.